Hey guys, welcome back to our channel Fluent Coders. So today we are going to create a new Spring Boot project, basic Spring Boot project, in which we will create an API which will get the data from the database. We will hit that API using Postman and display that data. So let's start. Before moving ahead, make sure these four things are installed or set up in your PC properly. First is Java, second is Maven or Gradle. In this video we will be using Maven. Third is IntelliJ or any other IDE like Eclipse or something. We would be using IntelliJ. Fourth would be Postman. So let's start. Now you can open any browser. I'll be using Chrome. You can use any, and you can go to the Google and type Spring Initializer. Spring Initializer is a tool through which you can create, or you can say basic project, right? Basic Spring Boot project with the dependencies. You can mention the Java version thing you wanted to use. Those things you can mention the Spring Initializer. So like Spring Boot 3.2.5, we want to use that. It is that is a stable one. Group, that will be com.debug thugs dot okay. Group, that is enough. Artifact, we can say it's our basic project, or you can also say first project or basic project. But let's basic project. Let's see. That is also, you can say first Spring Boot description, right? Project with debug thugs. Okay, you can make D capital, debug thugs. Okay, Java 17 jar. Now as part of this project we may need few dependencies, like because this is a API related thing, so we need one web. To access a database we need GPA, and we need one database. As part of this video we will be using MBTDB, and I guess H2 we can use. So I'll be generating this. So you can see basic project, it is done. Now let me go to the downloads, basic project, extract it here, extract all. Okay, so this is our basic project. This contains POM. This POM will contain all the data we want, dependencies we want. Now thing is, what are we going to do, right? So we'll be creating one API. You can say we will be creating an API. Okay, just single API will be creating that. You can say that would be /users to get all the user data. So if there are 10 users, 10 users data would be there. If there are one user data would be there. Just fetching the user data from the API. Okay, so at the back end what we'll be doing is we'll be hitting the database and then fetching it to the service and fetching it to the controller, and then controller will pass it to the response. This is what we are going to do. Let's start. For this we may need an entity that may be called user. You can say entity is nothing, just a class. You can say basic Java class, or you can say the Pojo, or yeah, the one, right? The one you can generally, right, create object of. So basically it is right, the one whose data will be modifying, will be creating, or showing it to the user, the basic thing. So it starts with our entity. Let's open our IntelliJ. Now I need to open this project, right? We are in the downloads. We need our basic project. This is our basic project. You can see POM is here, pom.xml. Let me press OK. Open as a project, trust project, this window. So it may take a moment or so to load. Once it is done, you can click on Maven. You can check if Maven proper, right? The one Maven which is installed in a PC, it is using Maven wrapper. That is incorrect. We need to use Apache Maven 3.9.5. The one which is installed in the PC, C Apache Maven. Apart from it, you can go to importing project JDK. It is using ignore files runner. This is also using correct JDK. I'll press apply. I will press OK. So it is fine. Now you can see the dependencies. One is data API, one is web, one is H2. Okay, this test comes automatically. We haven't included, but as part of Spring Web, it comes automatically as part of Spring Boot project, Spring Boot starter test. We don't need it right now, but still, right, it is here. So let's begin with our controller. As I told, right, we'll be creating a single controller. It will come in the src main Java, and then the one we named, right? So I will right click, create a new package. Package name would be controller. You can name it anything else as well, but I am generally using the basic industry standards. So industry standard says we should name it like controller or REST controller or something like that. I will create a new class here, right? As we know, we will be creating user controller, right? So we have a user project, user Pojo, user entity. So right, as part of this user entity, right, we'll be having two fields. One would be ID, second will be name. To make it simple, so these two fields would be there. Okay, so this is our controller. Now to Spring no, right, this is a controller. We should annotate it like @controller or REST controller. Right now we are using REST, so I'll be using @REST controller. Now all the APIs hitting this, right, should come like this: request mapping, so slash users. So any API, right, you can say right, all the APIs inside this controller, right, should begin with slash users. This is the prefix I'm adding to this class, right? If you don't want to add a postfix, that is fine, but prefix will be slash users. That is what this request mapping slash users mean. Now what we need is, we need a method get all users. What is this? This will return me all the users. So what would be the return type? That will be our response entity, right? Response entity. You can make it specific type as well. That's what it is telling me. That will be list of user. Now we don't know, we don't have the user entity, we haven't created it basically. So to get rid of this exception, right, user doesn't exist, let me first return it null, so that, okay, so we need to get our user entity created. So I'll click on the package, right click, new package, and I will create the package entity. Basically you can create all the classes inside one package also, but these are the industry standards that entity should come. Entities should come in the entity, controller should come in the controller package, and service in the service package, like this. And right, thing is, this is a basic project, so here, right, you won't be facing much issues. But if you are managing lot of entities, lot of controllers, it is easy to manage like this. Okay, now let us create the entity. Java class, it will be a user entity. Okay, created the user. Now entity should be annotated with @entity. So it is our entity. Okay, so I have created my entity user. Now as we know, right, it should have two fields. One would be private. I'm making it private because Java says, right, for all the Pojos we should make all the members private and expose our getters and setters. So next thing is private string name. Okay, now I have my entity. You can also use at the rate table and you can mention the table name, but that we don't require as of now. Okay, now uh, for this entity we need two more things. That is, one is getter, one is constructor. So let me create a constructor. I don't need, I need a no argument constructor. Okay, so unrelated problem, that is fine. I created a no argument constructor. Okay, so let me restructure this like this, no argument constructor here. Okay, and second thing, I will be creating a getter. I don't need setter of as of now because we'll be storing data from the backend side. We don't need the setter as of now. I'm creating getters. So yes, so we have created this much. If we require, we will use other annotations as well, but right now this much is enough, I guess. Now let us import this. Import class and this entity and list will be our Java util list. Okay, so as you can see, basic structure, this controller will return the list of users as a response entity and we are done. Now how will this controller will get our list of users? So that is will get from the service. So that is our response. You can say response where is a generic type. So now how we will get is user service dot get all users. Now we don't have user service and we don't have this get all users method. Okay, so firstly we need to create this user service. Let me create it here first. Private user service, sorry, it will be like private user service yes. Now we don't have this user service. Now what we will do, like before, new package, it will be service. Now in the package, new class, make sure the name, you don't do any mistake in that name, right? Spelling, it is case sensitive, right? So, and always name your classes, right? The first uh, letter of your class should be capitalized. That is what Java says. Okay, let's name it. So user services there. Okay, sorry. So as I told, right, it is case sensitive. Here, right, S is small. Here, S is capital. If we will do S capital, will it work? Yes, it came. I will import. Now get all users is not there. Create method. What we need is list of user. As of now, we will return null to resolve the exception. Now you can do import class. We have the user entity. Import class, done. Now thing is how this controller will get this user service. In Spring Boot, there is a concept called dependency injection. So this is how it will get. And dependency injection uses two things. One is setter injection, one is constructor injection. As per industry standard, we should use constructor injection. There are many some benefits of it. So I'll be using constructor injection. For that, I will right click, generate constructor, and I will select the user service, press OK. Thing is, this IDs make our task easy. I don't have to write this piece of code, getter, setter, controllers. I just right click, generate, and it will do the things for me. Okay. Now I have the constructor. I have my uh, service on to return the response. So we won't be returning null because we have the response. So we'll be creating a new response entity. We'll passing response and HTTP status. We can use value of. I generally use HTTP status dot okay. So we need to return 200. 200 is okay. So you can use 201 is created, 202 is accepted, 204 is no content. So right now 200 is fine for us. 200 HTTP status. So that's why we are using okay. Now controller and our entities are done, as you can see, right? One is this, we need to remove first. This is the unused import. Okay. Now how service will get this users, because this is returning null as of now. So we need list of, you can say, users from you can say database to the servers. So how we will get that? You can say list of users is equals to now service gets data from database, and how database is connected using a repository. So we can say user repository or okay dot get. uh, I guess get all method is there. Okay, so this is the method which repo exposes you automatically. So we don't have to create this method, but we need to create a repository. We don't have a repo, right? So as you know, right, what we'll be doing, we'll be making it a private user repo, and u should be capital as per the standards. Now we don't have this user repository. So what I will do is right click, new package. That package will be repo repository. In the repo, I'll go to right click, new Java class. Now repo is interface for basically, right? We won't be creating a Java class. It is a basic functionality provided by Spring Boot, right? In which we can make this as interface, and it provides us few methods. It will extend the repo. So let me create user repo. Now, as it is a Spring Boot, right? So we should annotate with this repository. Okay, so user repo, it is done. Now, how it will know that this user repo is linked with our users table? We need to extend it as current repository. You can extend it as repository as well, and we need to mention the class we are using. It is user. Now, what is the primary key? I'm importing this. Firstly, what is the primary key of this? We haven't mentioned any primary key. So this ID is our primary key. How we will mention it? @ID. So this will make this as primary key. This is the ID of the, and ID type is int. So using wrapper classes, it is integer. So user who's, so this will, what it will do, it will fetch the data from the database, like user into the user entity and whose ID is integer. Now let us go to the repo service, sorry. Now we need to import this repo. Import class repo, you can get. Now this get all doesn't works. Let me check if it is having. So as I said earlier as well, it will expose all the method. It is find all, not get all. Okay. Now this returns us a iterable interface we can cast it directly to. So this is called typecasting we are doing. Now we need to return this users. That's it. So till now what we did is, okay, so this is the service, we haven't annotated it on right now. So we need to annotate it with the @service first to make sure that Spring knows it is a service. And as you know, dependency injection, right? So we need to inject it using constructor. So go to generate constructor, select this user repo, press OK. So this is how Spring will get it. So till now what we created is, this is our controller where we created one controller this get all users. Here, right, I haven't added request mapping. I will add it as well and I will show you. So we can add, ideally I don't generally write for all users, I don't prefer, but still instead of request mapping you can use get mapping because this is a get call. So get mapping slash, you can say slash all, or get all, you can say, but this we should not use. Slash user is the one that should be used as per the REST API standards. But thing is, I'm just showing it how we can use this thing. Okay, so we created one API get all users. For that we created an entity user, we exposed getters so that it will be able to get the ID and name. We exposed one no argument constructor. Then for the controller it requires service, so we created a service. And to get the data, it requires a repo, so we created a repo. Now we need to connect with the database as well. We don't have any database. As part of the initial video I told, right, we would be using one embedded DB that is called you can see H2. So you can go to the resources, application.properties. Okay, so this is spring.application.name that you can leave. Okay, now we need to import. Now don't be tensed about these much code. I will be providing you a git link in my description and then you can get the code from here. So these are the basic properties I am adding. So first is server.port. First is Spring application name, that is basic project, that is fine. The second thing is port. So make sure that port is generally it is 8080 by default. If you want to change, you can mention the server.port and you can change it. Now S2 configuration. So basically for every database, this URL, these things will change. Okay, these 4 to 5 things. So right, your database URL will change, right? If it is a Oracle DB, so this will change. Database driver class name will change. Username password as per your DB password, and platform will also change. So this generally depends on the DB you are using, right? For H2, these are the configurations. Next thing is generate DDL. If you don't want to generate DDL, is data definition language. If any DDL happens, it will show in the logs. Otherwise, it doesn't. And next thing is create auto. So this is like Spring Boot has a feature in which you can allow him to create the database. So this what it will do is once the application launches, it will create the database, and once the application stops, it will drop the database, whole database structure. So this user, we don't have to create in the database, this user entity, we don't have to create. It will be automatically created by the Spring. This is how Spring Boot strong is. If we add a create prop, it will, even if there is a mapping, it will create the mapping tables. This is a single table. It is far more easy for him to create the database. Now we need to start this application. We will go to basic project application. You can see this icons. I can click on this start, run. So here we are facing some issue uh, while creating a table. Thing is, we have automatic creation, create, drop. So automatically database will be created and dropped, right? Created at the time of running the project, starting the project, and drop at the time of stopping the project. Because it is an embedded one, so we don't want to let the database exist. So it is failing. Sometimes it fails because of the name, right? Table name. User table, it is not allowed. So what we can do is we can add a table. This is a annotation by which we can change the table name, but the class name would remain the same. We can add a name and we can add double quotes users. Just I added a S in the tables. That is fine. I will stop it. I will run the instance again. Yeah, no exception got here. So we are able to run it. Now, what is our API is, where is our controller? This is our controller, slash users, slash get all. So let me open the Postman. Right now we haven't accessed the DB, okay? So right now just it should hit the DB. It's localhost slash users. Let's see if it is getting. Not found. R is get all. So yes, the API is there, but there is no data. Okay, what we need to do is we need to create the data. Now by default S2 console comes here, right? So localhost 8080 slash S2 console. This is our S2 console. We know the password because we already set it in the application.properties. You can see here is our password. It is password. Now let's test the connection first. Test successful. Now pass the password. It's connected. You can see our users table is there. Let me run it. We don't have any data. Let me edit it. Let me add first. That will be Saurav. Let me tick it. Let me send the request. I got ID1. ID next is Saurav. Let me add another row. That is 100. And that row, let's name it as Aman. Sorry. Yeah. Let me tick it. Let me hold. Perfect. So we are getting the response in the slash user slash get all Aman and Saurav. Now I want to change this API, right? Thing is, generally, right, as per the industry standards, we should not use this. I'm removing this. So what it will do, which API it will take. So I'm removing this. Now ideally it should take slash users. So by default, if we don't pass any mapping to any of the method, right, any of the controller method, it will take the parent controller method mapping. So right now we were getting in the slash user slash get all. I will click right because it is down, so it won't hit. So it will take the slash users right now. Let me go to my project, run it again. Okay, so it is launched now. I will say hit the same API. I will get not found because we have changed. So it will be right now slash users only. I will click okay slash users. That's it. So it is returning me no data. Now let me create the data. Let me reload this because it is an embedded DB. Every time the instance would be created, every time the data would be gone. So let me click on this, click on run, click on edit, plus icon. Let's name it as 999. Name can be hello. We can say debug thugs. Yes. Second would be 555 emergency. and another name would be 111. That will be LE, or you can say life. So it is automatically ordering itself. This is might be done by S2 consoles. And as you can see, table name is users, as we have mentioned in the entity. There is our entity user. Yes, so it is users. Can hit the API. We get 3 live emergency debug thugs. So I hope this tutorial was helpful to you. Don't be tensed about the code. We'll be uploading the code in the Git repo and providing you the Git link. If you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments below. Don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel for more programming tutorials. Thank you for watching.